Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Dave Percy, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, satellite imagery. No warnings, watches, or advisories out anywhere today. There was a fog advisory, dense fog advisory for the central Tanana Valley there in the greater Fairbanks area that was out until 4 p.m. for Saturday, and that's probably going to end around, or at least by evening there, with otherwise just a lot of clouds there through the eastern Tanana Valley. We've got a weak Arctic front here, slowly sagging southward, mostly over here to the east, but staying stationary back to the northwest. And with that, of course, the clouds, areas of light snow there for the central coast, mostly northeast of Point Lay, back down into and south of the mountains there into the upper Tanana Valley. A few breaks here over the central interior right through there, and also along the southwest coast, not too much though. And then this system spreading clouds and rain up in across the southeast coast. That's where the main push of the storm is, but some of this lifting northward, bringing rain to Yakutat back toward Cordova during the afternoon hours, with some moisture slipping on up into Prince William Sound, extending back to the west, Kodiak, into northeast Bristol Bay, and the Aleutian Range picking up rain today, and another area up the west side there of the coast with lots of clouds all the way up into Kotzebue Sound, the Chukchi Sea, with some areas of light rain from the Seward Peninsula southward across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas, and then a break here, a narrow break to the west, and then showers rolling into the Pribilof Islands, and mostly another trough actually spreading some showers into the western Aleutians. Those scatter out, become isolated for Adak and Atka. Could have seen some possible sunshine there today, with showers ending over the eastern Aleutians. Really not much in the way of any precipitation there. Possible clearing as well. And rolling this again, you can see the showers pushing pushing east and southeast here into the western Aleutians. Cold air up across the northwest Bering Sea, as evidenced by the unstable nature of the cloud pattern up here. And then for the southeast coast, clouds and rain moving in today from Dixon Entrance all the way up into the northern areas, Yakutat, and again moving into Cordova and Prince William Sound. And then clouds after a mostly sunny start, partly a mostly sunny start for northern Cook Inlet, up into the valleys, clouds, mid and high level clouds pushing northward. And then this front up here really is not going to make too much of a push to the south from its current position, which is locally right across Wainwright, give or take there. Again, it's a pretty weak front, but there is somewhat cooler air behind it, and there are some areas of light snow along the boundary there. Flurries again south into the upper Yukon Valley, and Northway reporting some light snow at times today, and possibly up toward the White Mountains. And this trough bringing these showers, light showers, to the southwest coast here in Nunivak Island up to the Seward Peninsula area, and then the rain holding back to the west here into Kodiak Island, northeast Bristol Bay, tapering off to showers over the Fox Islands and ending. And then that next trough swinging some more showers into the far western Aleutians. For tonight, that continues eastward here, staying west of Adak though. Areas of rain and showers over the Fox Islands, a trough right through here, keeping the sour chances going for the Alaska Peninsula and the Pribilofs. This trough, light snow or flurries, nothing too significant at all here from the Yukon Delta northwestward across the Seward Peninsula, maybe the Bering Strait. And then we're looking at some areas of light snow, again, mostly on the north slope to the crest of the Brooks Range, but flurries and light snow showers lingering there for the upper Yukon Valley. Otherwise, starting to decrease the clouds here, especially after midnight again over south central Alaska as the system pulls off to the east slowly. You see the front makes a good jog into the British Columbia area there with Rain continuing though, good southwest flow, but beginning to get a little more showery and definitely lighter here on toward morning, but the showers won't end completely there. You still have this trough off the coast, and then another one trying to develop right through here. And moving on to Sunday, you can see that trough advances to the coastline by tomorrow afternoon, so it's going to stay cloudy and showery again, slowly diminishing, but it won't be until this trough moves out that you'll probably get a break ahead of this next development down to the southwest, becoming mostly sunny again for south central Alaska and Cook Inlet, especially south of the Alaska Range, south and east of the mountains there. Isolated shower possible for Kodiak northwest flow, keeping the east side of the island dry, and probably see less clouds slowly throughout the day. Showers for the Alaska Peninsula. Flurries here again in the west. This trough a little bit better developed now, brings rain or showers and rain to the central Aleutians, starting to clear out Adak late in the day. And you can see the warm front associated with the next storm out there to the west, which moves pretty good to develop a 980 millibar low here. Probably looking at some gale force northerly winds on the back side of that. And strongest wind field, though, staying to the south of the Aleutians, with the front barely making it to the central Aleutians there. Again, this thing mostly sliding off to the east-southeast. Weak trough here along the coast keeps a chance of showers going through those areas excuse me, on Monday. And then this band of moisture lifting northward in the southerly flow there. That'll bring some light rain, drizzle, fog to the Pribilof Islands, and then break out to the south there over the Fox Islands. Could see a little bit of sunshine there ahead of this system back farther to the west. And should be mostly sunny, westerly flow now, so pretty sunny day coming up for Kodiak Island. Winds won't be all that strong at all, maybe 10 to 20 miles an hour. That's about it. Could see areas of low clouds, fog develop again over the interior valleys here where the skies are the clearest. And then this next system that was down to the south, that rolls northward, and at this time looks like it'll come due north across the Queen Charlotte Islands into the southern panhandle for more rain late Sunday night and Monday, with just scattered showers back to the north toward Lynn Canal Glacier Bay. Isolated rain or snow showers scattered along the North Gulf Coast areas. Flurries, scattered showers over the southeast interior, Copper River Basin up toward the eastern Tanana Valley 40-mile country. And another trough there keeps light snow and fog for the central and eastern Arctic coast, with a dry condition probably for the north slope into the Brooks Range area. And then for the stays mostly sunny and dry here over south central Alaska, with really pretty dry conditions over much of the interior. Temperatures for the lows tonight, just lower teens here for the Brooks Range, otherwise lower to mid-20s for the Arctic coast and north slope. Lower to mid-30s here for the interior of the southwest coastal areas, a little milder out toward the Bering Sea, and lower 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, lower 40s also for the southeast coast and the Aleutians. Highs tomorrow, lower to mid-20s here, or upper 20s for the Arctic coast. Staying below 20 though for the Anatuvik Arctic Village areas. Mid-30s, lower to mid-30s here over the Tanana Valley, over to the west or in the central interior, lower to mid-40s to upper 40s for northeast Bristol Bay there, and lower 40s still up towards St. Lawrence Island, with mid to upper 40s for the Aleutians. And the low temperatures expected Monday morning, just coming down to just above zero there for the Brooks Range area, with teens now down into the upper Yukon Valley, mid-teens for the Koyukuk Valley there for Bettles, but staying above freezing along the southwest coast, and mid-20s to mid-30s here for south central Alaska, warmest along the coastline, mid to upper 40s there for the Panhandle, and staying mild out over the Aleutians, lows in the lower 40s there, and then mid-30s to lower 40s for the Alaska Peninsula. Highs on Monday, cooler there for the Brooks Range and the Arctic coast in the 20s, otherwise 40s for the Bristol Bay area, and mid to upper 40s here for the Panhandle.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on into flying weather now, I've got areas of marginal VFR here from the western north slope all the way down, mostly inland here along the Kuskokwim Mountains, and then along the southwest coast of Nunivak Island. Perblofs in the VFR tomorrow morning, marginal from the Alaska Peninsula on out to Amchitka Island, and then northward there, just reaching the south side of St. Lawrence Island, IFR central eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and the southern Panhandle. With tomorrow afternoon, got some IFR showing up now here along the eastern North Gulf Coast, roughly around Yakutat on in to the northern Panhandle there, in areas kind of increasing in the afternoon a little bit, and then also remaining over the southern southeast coast, marginal VFR back to about Cordova up to the Wrangles, IFR right through the west central interior, actually in the west here from the Nulato Hills up toward the Selawik Valley and along the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, IFR starting to show up out to the west there with the next system, and that makes a pretty good jog to the east here, covering much of the southwest Bering, all the way across Adak and Atka, marginal VFR, Fox Islands, up into the southwest coast. Still some lingering IFR here in the western areas, eastern Norton Sound, the Nulato Hills, again up toward the Selawik Valley. No change for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and a little more widespread IFR now over the North Gulf Coast into the Panhandle. Northern Panhandle there, then it becomes marginal, and that IFR still holding over the southern areas down to Dixon Entrance. And for passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR at times tomorrow, same forecast for Adigan, mostly marginal. And then for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, either approach at times tomorrow, could be VFR at times also. I think rainy, you'll be far enough north away from the moisture. VFR would be some clouds, but nothing too serious. And for windy VFR, Isabel VFR, but Mentasta, some moisture sneaking up there, marginal VFR at times, especially southern approach, Tanita VFR, and Portage VFR. Chilcoot and White, marginal VFR, late in the day, maybe a risk of seeing some IFR showing up on the southern entrances. Freezing levels at the surface here, actually way up into the Chukchi Sea, across the Seward Peninsula, down into, well, right across northern Cook Inlet, along the coast and eastward, and the warmer air aloft here down really from the central southeast coast, 4,000 to 6,000 feet there in toward the Dixon Entrance area, 2,000 feet back here across the Bering. Really the jet down to the south, so not much of a thermal gradient up to the north, freezing level wise anyway. And for icing, spotty areas out here to the west. Alaska Peninsula could have a chance of some light Reimer mixed icing. Same forecast for the central and western Aleutians. Again, pretty spotty, not really anything significant, above about 3,000 feet. Better chance here across the entire Panhandle there from the Queen Charlottes all the way up to around Yakutat, and that mostly occurring above 4,000 feet. And for the jet stream, again, well to the south on the cold side of the jet now, and usually kind of an unsettled weather pattern goes on, showery, but weak upper level high here, keeping it dry and fair over the interior areas. Cold upper low back over the northwest Bering, 170 knots here just south of the central Aleutian, so a very strong jet across the Pacific, 9,000 feet. Showing up something like this, low back up in here, and the main gradient near and south of the Aleutians still could kick up to 60 knots with this wave tracking eastward there, beginning to exit the eastern Aleutians, 25 knots for the peninsula, 25 to 30 knots west-northwest over the western Aleutians, much stronger to the south, much lighter to the north here. You can see just 10 to 15 across the Bering. 5 to 10 knot variable winds over the interior, mostly northeast here with that low just west of Yakutat. Southwest, possibly as high as 60 knots there blowing in toward Dixon Entrance, much lighter to the north. Same pattern here, 3,000 feet, low complex through here. West-southwesterlies, strongest as you head south. Again, 45 knots there across Dixon Entrance. 2025, Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, light up here over the interior areas. And for turbulence, tomorrow, occasional light to very isolated moderate chop western Aleutians, and from about the Alaska Peninsula here, all the way over into the southern southeast coastal areas. And after the break, I'll be back with a marine forecast and ice edge.
We always knew the site was there, but we thought it was gone due to erosion. My grandfather would tell about the bow and arrow wars. about two kids, playing with darts. And one eye was poked, so the other kid's father came and did the same thing. So from that, it became a full-blown war. To see this excavation bring that story alive is one of the most fascinating things I've seen. I mean, the stories we've heard and the evidence they're pulling out from Nunasuk, it's no longer a legend, it's becoming a fact.
My name is Rick Connect, and I'm principal investigator of the project. We have 11 PhDs. We use a lot of student volunteers. We work with professional conservators to make it all happen. We've got Dr. Paul Ledger, who's working on the history of climate here. Dr. Veronique Forbes, who's an archaeoentomologist who studies insects. Dr. P.T. Ashlock, who's also a professional archaeologist from Southeast Alaska. Dr. Madonna Moss is from the University of Oregon, who specializes in faunal analysis.
There are mussel shells throughout this site. Here's another bigger piece. And we don't know where they're coming from.
The Nunalak site was originally a village. Elders tell us that this site extended out about 200 feet. Since 2009, we've lost more than 30 feet on that piece of shoreline. And our 2009 and 2010 excavation blocks are completely gone already. It's very much a race against time. But this particular structure with a covered boardwalk running down the middle of it was an adaptation to the bow and arrow wars. That was a period of intense conflict between different native villages here in the YK Delta. And no one knew exactly when it had happened other than it happened before the Russians arrived. This collective communal house was burned down by attackers from another village up the Kuskokwim. We think it happened about 1640 based on carbon dates of the charred grass and so on the floor.
We've been excavating Nunasuk for about 6 years now. I sent Rick a few pictures of artifacts I had from the locals. He came right over. He didn't even unpack. He went down the beach and they started walking and they started finding artifacts. Those first group was a tough bunch. There's these 3 students and a professor that come down and start looking for artifacts. Wind, rain, shine, they do it. My mind was saying, man, these guys are crazy. But they're trying to beat the erosions.
We get bugs, we get weather, we get wind, we get rain. Ouch, there's one now. And so they're pretty challenging conditions. We put in as many hours as we physically can, 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, just so we can get to it in time.
Pizza! Give me pizza!
Rick's just great. He doesn't stop. He's a perfect person for this site. I wouldn't have no one else run this site except him.
Well, I first came to Alaska to work as a graduate student in 1983, and luckily it was a preserved site much like this one in Kodiak. And that one was also eroding, and we worked hard to get a sample from that, but at the same time our assumption was there were going to be more sites like that, and the whole thing washed out. There wasn't even a rock, a firecrack rock left behind. That was shocking. And we ended up only getting a 10% sample at best, and that's not going to happen again. We're getting things that normally you just see in museum collections. We've got arrows with the feathers still lashed to them, grass rope that was used to make dog harnesses, that kind of preservation.
There's a piece of hair right here. I found that in my screen. PT found a ridiculously large amount of hair, and Bridget found another huge clump of hair today. It seems like when they cut their hair, they just let it fall wherever it wanted to, so. There's the lamp. The hair is kind of sticking out right there. It's all over the place, actually. There's been way hairier lamps, too. like, oh, you find hair and you're like, oh, this is like a hair sample, and then you dig a little more and then it's actually a lamb.
Bridget found an earring in the screen.
Yeah, that's definitely fawn.
Yeah. And then I would have it goes up to about there, I think. So I don't know how they actually wore them, like how it fit in.
Yeah, they kind of look like clip-ons.
Yeah.
I've heard that we're up to around 30,000 museum quality pieces, which will be coming back to Queen Hawk in 2017. We're hoping to get a cultural center built here, and then I'm hoping all the artifacts will remain in the village.
We estimate the site might have 5 to 10 years left, maximum. It could be lost in one big winter storm. It's like museums on fire or a library, and you have to rush in and save as many books and pieces of art as you can. And we're seeing things that people remember from their childhoods. Elders have a chance to reacquaint themselves and their children with tangible remains of their heritage.
Yeah, this project's been great. I'm just honored to be part of it, a small part of it.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. For tomorrow here, for Lynn Canal, northern Lynn Canal, south winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Small craft advisories on down to the south for Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait, southeast 25 there. Got gale warnings on the south coast for those southwest winds at 35 knots, and also for the north central coast here, westerlies at 35 knots. Otherwise, pretty brisk elsewhere, seas as high as 13 feet. And then for Monday, much lighter winds, still westerly here, 30 with higher gusts to start the day out. Otherwise, northwest at 20 and southwest 20 knots there with 5-foot seas for Clarence Strait. Just 10-knot winds on up to the north with southeast 20 for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And for Cook Inlet tomorrow, light westerly winds with seas at about 2 feet. We've got small craft advisories, westerlies at 25, Ketchimak Bay across the Barren Islands here, and northwest 20 for the western North Gulf Coast. Otherwise, westerlies 20 to 25 for the east side, light northwesterlies for Prince William Sound. That holds through Monday there for Prince William Sound, coming down to 15 knots there for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And 25-knot winds hold for the Barrens, northwest 25 also for Ketchimak Bay, otherwise light northerlies for Cook Inlet. And out to the west, Bristol Bay, west winds 20 knots, same forecast for the Alaska Peninsula, all the way up to Sitkinak, and actually westerlies also in the forecast at 20 knots for Shelikof Strait and along the east side of Kodiak with 9-foot seas. And then for Monday, pick the winds up a little bit here, east side of Kodiak, small craft advisories for westerlies at 25, and that'll extend down to Castle Cape. Otherwise, the Alaska Peninsula, west 20 knots, no change for Bristol Bay as well, west 20 with seas 6 to 7 feet. And for the eastern Aleutians, westerlies 20 to 25 knots with seas 8 to 10 feet, and then southwest 25 here for the Adak and Atka area with 10 to 11-foot seas, behind that trough turning westerly, but holding at 25 knots all the way out there to Shimia. And then for Monday, next storm coming in again, south 35 knots in advance of that front, or on the eastern side of that with gales all the way over to Atka, northwest 40 on the backside, so pretty good winds out in that area for the western Aleutians, and down to 20 knots from the west-southwest there for Unalaska Island with 7 to 8-foot seas. Along the southwest coast, westerlies at 15 knots here in that area. Otherwise, the Pribilofs west at about 20 knots, southwest 15 for St. Matthew Island, and south to southwest 10 knots, Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. Outlook for Monday for those areas, staying pretty light, down to 5 knots now for St. Lawrence Island. Call it 10 there for Norton Sound with 2-foot seas, still 5-foot seas here north of Nunivak Island with light southwest winds over towards St. Matthew Island. Southwest now 15 for the Pribilofs and west 15 into Kuskokwim Bay. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, we've got northeast winds continuing. Not much change from today at 10 knots, 15 for the central coast, increasing here 25 knots on the west side down to Cape Thompson. Cape Thompson to the Bering Strait, easterlies at 15. And then for the Monday forecast, those fall down to about 10 knots in that zone, 20 knots there in that narrow area from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort. Otherwise, northeast 15 for the west side. And wind swinging around here to the northwest at 15, but up to 25 knots from the west on the eastern coastline there with seas running 4 to 6 feet. And taking a look at tonight again, we've got the front now approaching the panhandle that pushes through. Pretty good westerly flow and southwest winds there, so that's going to keep it rainy even after the front goes through. Beginning to change over to showers late tonight, but another trough developing to the south. That'll keep showers in the area throughout the day. Sunday, interior, partly to mostly cloudy. Could be some patchy areas of fog forming again. Light snow continues to the Brooks Range. Isolated snow showers, light snow showers back here across the Seward Peninsula with that trough. Rain showers, Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians. And then for the tomorrow outlook for Sunday, becoming mostly sunny again here for south central Alaska as the whole thing, all the upper low pulls off to the east. Dry conditions through much of the interior. Still a chance of snow showers or rain and snow showers, Yukon Delta up to the Chukchi Sea. Next trough brings rain into the central Aleutians, and this storm on Monday brings more rain into the Panhandle.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.